All right, awesome. We are live on YouTube, everybody. So hi, welcome. Thank you guys for all coming today and watching our awesome capstone presentations. So my name is Danny Zogian, and I am the lead instructor for the cohort of the Actualize Online West Live program. And I'm the lead instructor for the cohort that you're about to see their projects for. So one of the coolest things about my job as lead instructor of a programming bootcamp, specifically Actualize, is that I get to work with some really motivated and very determined individuals. Our boot camp is actually a part-time boot camp. We are like nights and Sunday. So that means that a lot of my current students actually have full-time jobs that they maintain while they also take this program on their free nights and on Sunday. So they're very motivated people, and they're doing everything they can to be here and to learn web development, to learn the skills to be in this industry. So these guys all built projects from the ground up, and you're about to see those projects. They're going to present them individually. And they're using fundamental web development skills that they have learned in the past 12 weeks, actually 4 months, because they did have some pre-work along with that. So they've also adopted a very important and specific developer mentality that's really kind of a different way of thinking than a lot of other jobs, which is the mentality that you have to learn how to teach yourself new skills. Many of tonight's presenters that you're going to see have actually used this mentality to implement technologies and softwares that I didn't directly teach them how to use, but they learned how to implement on their own and put into their projects through teaching themselves a new skill. And I'm extremely proud of that, of course. So what I'm going to do now is we've got a few panelists here in the room who are basically going to ask some questions and mediate a little bit for the students who are presenting. So I'm going to introduce my panelists one at a time and let them sort of introduce themselves for just a brief minute and where they come from, what do they do, what's their background. So I'm going to start with Colleen. Colleen, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Colleen. I live in Los Angeles. I went through this bootcamp program way back in 2015, and I'm a software engineer now. And before that, I was a graphic designer and like a marketing person.
Cool. All right, thanks, Colleen. And our second panelist tonight is Luke Madera. So Luke, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Luke. I am a self-taught web developer or software engineer. I've been doing it for about 15 years now. I went to Berkeley, didn't actually get a degree in computer science, and then after that worked on a startup, taught myself to code, and now I am a front-end developer at Presence Learning in San Francisco.
All right, cool. Thanks, Luke. And now I'm going to introduce our CEO and founder, Jay Wengrow, who has built Actualize essentially from a single class in Chicago is where we all started, to now a coast-to-coast programming bootcamp. We have an online West and we have an online East program. So we're all over the US now. And Jay is not just an administrative CEO, but he's actually greatly involved in the teaching side of what we do and in the apprenticeship program of our program. And his passion for education is really contagious, and he's really inspirational to me personally. So Jay, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Danny. So really all I want to say tonight is congratulations to all of the graduates. Echoing a lot of what Danny said, what these, for everyone watching in the audience right now, you must understand that what these graduates have accomplished is no small feat whatsoever. Basically, imagine working 9 to 5 and then spending the next 3.5 hours in the evening learning to code, which is a brain-busting activity. The fact that they've been able to do that for 3 to 4 months and stick with it and actually learn to code and see, and you're going to see in a moment, the projects that they've produced is really a testament to their character and their ability to persevere and really take on the challenge to learn an amazing new skill. So I'm extremely proud of all of the graduates, of all of you. And so kudos to that. I'm extremely excited to see each of your presentations. And I want to give a special thanks to Danny, the instructor, who is a phenomenal, phenomenal teacher. And speaking of inspiration, Danny is an inspiration to her students. She's also an inspiration to myself and the rest of the team. Her enthusiasm and everything she brings to the table as a skilled educator and developer is top-notch, and we're extremely privileged to have such an instructor. Also want to thank the teaching assistants, Jaren and Nadine. I know that, since I've been a lead instructor as well, it's really difficult to facilitate the class without the teaching assistants. They really do so much for the students. So I thank both of you. And that's pretty much it. So congrats again. And I'm looking forward to seeing all your presentations.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for the kind words as well. I am, of course, also excited to see your presentations, though I've kind of already seen them. I've been working with you guys, but I am still excited to see the final version. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and actually jump in. So our first presenter tonight is going to be Andrew. So Andrew, will you take it away? You can share your screen.
Absolutely. So I just want to start by thanking the panelists for being here tonight. I know you all have very busy schedules, so I really appreciate that you're taking the time to, sit here with us and take a look at our projects. So my project called Spill It is essentially a web app that I use to address a problem that some of my friends and I were having. So, living in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's a lot of really interesting arts and culture events that go on, particularly in the LGBT community. And a lot of my friends and I would have trouble finding artists that we knew we were interested in, but we didn't know what exactly, was going on in their schedule for a variety of reasons. It was actually inspired by drag queens because we know that they have events going on that are upcoming in the area, but we would find out about them at the last minute on Instagram or Facebook, or some last minute post, because they really host their events in like a disjointed way, using a lot of different social media apps and nothing to put together into sort of one solid foundational place. So I thought this app would be great to address the issues that the fans were having, as well as a way to kind of empower the artists and help them connect with their fan base in an even more powerful way. So I guess, and with that, I'll kind of get started on a demo here. So my app, I kind of thought about the way that we could implement the minimum viable product, because that was sort of the focus that we were trying to achieve in this program was, building an application that was functional and useful, but also, not too complicated to go beyond the scope of an appropriate learning experience. So essentially what I narrowed it down to was that the most important elements to have in this kind of app were user accounts, creating events and sort of mapping those out into a schedule and an integrative map where you could see what kinds of events are happening in your area. So with that, I'll start out with our first feature here. So let's take a look at the signup page. So as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. We've got a signup page with a form that includes username, email, password, password confirmation, a little description about yourself and whether or not you're an artist. Of course, you can also upload a little profile picture. Fortunately, I've taken the time to create, so we don't have to go through that process, create a user account. So I will log in right now. So when you log in, you'll notice you first get prompted to your individual profile page. So my performer's name is Viola Lynn. She really loves playing the violin. As you can see, the first thing that you see is, what events the user is seeing. So it looks like Viola is really interested in the roast of Katya. And you can also see what events she's hosting. So looks like she's performing her violin by the sea and with dolphins because she's really into the ocean. And she's also, a double threat. She can dance, so she's going to be performing in Swan Lake, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. And as you can see, I have the event pages here. So you can see the name of the event, when it's happening, where it's happening. Oddly enough, it's happening in the financial district. That's pretty cool. And a little description of what is going to be going on in this event. I also implemented a series of categories so that every user can know what kind of event they're expecting to go to. So, and as you can see, there's also a map that shows the events that this particular user is hosting. So I can see Violin with Dolphins down here. It's in the Presidio. Music by the Sea is at the Pier 39, and Swan Lake in the financial district. So one of the cool things about going to your user page is you can also create a new event instead of just seeing what's going on. So let's make an event quickly here. Let's say Viola is really talented at stand-up. So I'm going to say stand up with Viola. And let's say it'll happen May 6th of this year at 4:00 p.m. I'll be hosting a stand-up event. And this form, pretty similar to the sign-up form. We have a title, date of our event, description, and I also implemented a Google, using the Google Places API, I implemented an autocomplete form. So that way, as you can see on the user page and on the home page, you can see events that are near you. And so let's see, let's put this at the Castro Theater. So essentially, this form is using geocoding and the Google Places API to integrate and essentially translate that into a set of, a latitude and a longitude. So that way they can appear on the map as you see them on the user page. I can also upload a file, and we'll use a picture of a microphone for that because it'll be a stand-up event. And now we can pick which categories we want to add to this event. So I think it'll be a comedic event, so we'll add comedy. Viola, she's a bit of a drag queen, so we'll add that as well. And I think, yeah, it's a stand-up event as well. So that pretty much summarizes the kind of event that this is going to be. So now I'll just submit this. And now it takes me right back to my user page. And I can see now that not only is she hosting these 3 events, but she's also going to be hosting stand-up comedy. So we can also, Viola is not only an artist herself, but she's really interested in seeing events that are upcoming in her area. So fortunately, we have an event search page. So we can see everything that's going on in this area. And for this page, I implemented, a pretty basic search algorithm that iterates through the title, the location, and the description, as well as the username. So I can search for events, let's say that are happening that I'm hosting, Viola. Now I can see it changed, so it only shows my events. I can also select categories. So if I want to see comedy events that are coming up, I can switch that, and now it'll show me only events that fall under that category. And even more specifically, I can add, a text parameter to show only events that are comedy that are being hosted by a Viola. So that's pretty neat. And I also implemented a logout form. So as you can see, I've just logged out of Viola's account. And now I'll show you a different account. So let's say we want to log in as a different user. So Ruby and Heels is our next user that we'll demonstrate. So as you can see, she's going to see Viola's Music by the Sea event. She's hosting a few events of her own, a production of Hedwig and the Angry Inch, DJ dance party, and yeah, pretty similar to the last event user page we showed. So now, let's say I go back to that events page and I search for Viola's events. I can go to this event page and I can add it to my calendar. Now, if I go to my profile, you'll see, whoops. Cool. Now, when you go to my profile, you'll see that Ruby is also going to be attending Swan Lake as well. And the same events that she's hosting also come up. So those are essentially the basic features. You can create events, you can update events. I'll give you a quick preview of you have to go to an event that you're hosting. So I'll go down to the events that I'm hosting if my page will load. So essentially, I guess for the sake of time, I'll quickly just cover a couple of the interesting things that I thought we could implement in the future with this app. So, there are a lot of event apps out there. They do all sorts of different things. I thought that this would be a great way to solve a problem that I was having. But there's so many different directions you can take this. Some things I would have liked to have implemented that I could still add on in the future would be maybe some more dynamic features, like adding a carousel of the upcoming events that are happening on the homepage. I would have really liked to add comments, reviews for specific events to show how they went, and that sort of thing. And with that, that basically summarizes my project. So I'd be happy to open this up to questions at this point.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, so why don't you leave that up, and then I'm going to open it up to our panelists to ask some questions. So starting with Colleen.
Hi, Andrew. Great project. I would definitely go see The Violin by the Dolphins. That's definitely geared towards me. Can you tell me a little bit about your front-end technologies that you used and how you got them to talk with the back-end?
Yeah, absolutely. So this app was built with a Vue.js front end. So I can quickly navigate over here. So as you can see, we have an index.html file, which contains all the HTML, including our Vue templates. And those are connected to the index.js page that holds all of the JavaScript, implementing all of our dynamic features. So as you can see, the sign up page is right here. We used Axios, which is a gem for web requests to post, to our various pages, delete, basically CRUD all of our different models. And this app is actually, so the front end is Vue.js, but the back end is Rails. So as you'll see, all of my Ruby files are contained right here. So we can see controllers, the events controllers right here. So it contains controller for index, show, create, update, etc. User events for our join table, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward in that sense that we tried to divvy it up by backend entirely Rails, front end JavaScript.
Awesome. And what did you use as a styling library? Did you use any at all?
Yes. So I used a Bootstrap theme that I found on the internet. I thought the design was pretty clean and simple and minimalistic. So we essentially copied all of those into our public folder. And let me pull this up quickly. So yeah, the CSS is contained in our theme and all of the other, the fonts, etc.
Awesome. Great project.
Thanks.
All right, Luke, do you have some questions you would like to ask?
Yeah, nice work. My question is, what was the biggest challenge you ran into when you were working on this?
The biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges I faced was really, familiarizing myself with a new technology like Google Maps, for example. If you know the language, it can be pretty straightforward to implement. But since this wasn't the kind of project that we went into already knowing how to use the technologies, familiarizing myself with the syntax of that was probably pretty difficult. And also just a lot of time management went into it, because there were a lot of things I would have loved to have implemented, but the bugs involved with implementing those was, the kind of bugs that I was getting, I could decide to pursue those further and fix them, or I could focus on more core important features. So
Gotcha.
The time management component was also pretty significant.
All right. Well, good job.
Thanks.
Jay.
Andrew, I love this project. It is amazing. Well done. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. In terms of the Google Maps, did you have to integrate that with Vue.js, or were you able to keep that separated from Vue?
So
I don't need to see your code. You could just tell me.
Okay. I mean, I guess I didn't necessarily have to integrate it with Vue.js, but I did because we kind of wanted to keep all of our JavaScript in one place.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that it was like when you go to the Google Maps documentation, it's just plain Google Maps, doesn't explain how to integrate it with Vue. How did you go about integrating that with Vue?
I mean, it wasn't that complicated. So it was really just focusing mostly on the JavaScript aspect. I don't know if there was really that much of a barrier to the fact that we integrated it with Vue,
mm-hmm.
because we mostly put all of that information in each individual component, and we didn't have to like sort of focus on the fact that it was in Vue. We just kind of added it right there. So there wasn't really a barrier, I would say, given the fact that it was based in Vue.
Okay, cool. And my other question was in regards to the Google Places API, which is really cool how you integrated that as an autocomplete. Was that easy, like just plug and play, or were there some challenges around that?
There were definitely some challenges.
Especially combining that with geocoder.
Yeah, there was an element of plug and play, but at first, but it's not really going to work unless you take the time to study the documentation and understand what's really going on. So I definitely had to do a little research to make sure that I understood the syntax of geocoding and, which variables meant what, sort of thing, and just kind of get that to spit out the result that I was looking for.
Okay. Awesome job, Andrew. This is super impressive.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for presenting. All right, so we're gonna go on to our next presenter, and I'm gonna have Victor screen share and take it away. So Victor, you're up.
Well, Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States, said once that he had always been afraid of banks. Just imagine, the person who led American troops and won several decisive battles became a national hero in 1815 at the Battle of New Orleans against the British, who won American presidential elections, was always afraid of banks. Amazing, isn't it? Two of the greatest American people, Mark Twain and Robert Frost, independently of each other, considered bank as a place where bankers lend you an umbrella in fair weather and ask for it back when it begins to rain. A lot of water has flowed since those old times that people have long been gone, and banks, they have become much more powerful. Our well-being and calm today depend much more on banks than it was then. Does this mean that we should fear banks much more too? I believe that people should be able to control bank activity. And for this, I have created my application, Transparent Banking. Unlike other applications and websites, usual people's opinion define the bank ratings, not experts. Transparent Banking is an app for good friends, even if they have met recently. ready to help, support each other, and to make daily banking honest, fair, and transparent for everybody. Transparent Banking MVP, which I present to your attention today, consists of three main parts. Step-by-step guide for the optimal choice of banking service or product. Information guide on banks and their services. Custom reviews, which are an invaluable foundation of the whole design. Registration. Agree is not required to use the application and is only necessary for creating and editing reviews. But the form is very simple. Login consists of filling in the fields, user's email, and password. After login, user can update his profile, add full name, date of birth, change his photo, and anything he wants. Consistently answering the questions of the step-by-step guide, a user eventually gets a list of bank products of various banks. Sorted by rating, and sorting order can be changed at the user request. Going to the page of a specific product, the user can find out the official details and terms of its provision, its advantages and disadvantages over others, find out similar rating product of the same or other banks, learn about hidden tricks and pitfalls of this bank from other user reviews. He can also leave a review of his experience. Or update his earlier created review. I'm sorry. If desired, the user can go to the page with the bank rating and get more information about a particular bank or its competitors. Open a list of categories and select the product of interest from it. While working on the project, I was especially excited to code with my favorite Ruby and JavaScript. I'm a bit proud of my method, which selects banks products of a certain category and chooses two top rating products from them. It was more complicated to code on Vue.js and jQuery, but now I know what should I improve on in the near future. I believe that transparent banking will be a successful application. So I envisaged its further development, which includes more advanced and convenient user tools, user forum, and such pleasant and little things like map and location services implementation. And who knows, perhaps the gaining popularity of transparent banking will make it the platform where banks will honestly fight for their clients, forgetting about their tricks. Airbnb and Uber are good examples. As a conclusion, I would like to thank Actualize for this marvelous opportunity. And Danny, special thanks to you. You are really amazing.
Thank you, Victor. This project is amazing, and the presentation was amazing. Can't hold my excitement. Okay, thank you so much, Victor. All right, so let's open up to some questions. Colleen, why don't you begin?
Victor, I really like your project. Great presentation. Can you tell me what was the most challenging thing that you faced when you were implementing all of your ideas here?
As I said before, the most challenging thing was Vue.js and jQuery, because I did not knew them like JavaScript and Ruby.
So did you find it hard to like get the Ruby backend to talk to the JavaScript?
Probably yes.
Yeah. Cool. Great project. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Luke, question.
Hey, good job, Victor. My question is, when you have the list of the banks and you had like the images for the different kind of banks, where did you get that information from, and where do you get the images for the different kinds of banks?
Unfortunately, banks are not shared their API with great pleasure. So I collected them by hands and make my collection in this.
Okay, so you manually collected the images and the bank names for all of them?
Yes, manually collection, but everything works on Vue.js and inserted in the application with help of Vue.js.
Okay, cool. Good job.
Thank you.
And Jay.
Yeah, Victor, this is a really, really great project. And also really important because people really don't know too much about, they just go to their local bank and don't know the advantages or disadvantages of each one. So I certainly appreciate that. So on this page that you're on now, you're able to sort it in different ways. You could sort it by reviews and sort it by I guess, in alphabetical order. Is that what the feature on the top does there?
Yes, it's sorting. In this case, it is sorting by title and sorting by rating.
Got it.
I mentioned before.
And is that using the JavaScript to dynamically change that order?
Yes.
Okay. Is that something that is Vue.js was helpful for, or did you have to like use plain old JavaScript for that?
JavaScript make a method to define top banks in this list. But sorting is completed by Vue.js functionality.
Okay, incredible, very impressive. Nice job, Victor.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Victor, for this great presentation and for the education that you just laid down on us as well. All right, so our next presenter is going to be Irene. So Irene, why don't you screen share and take it away for us?
Hi. During some time, I researched social networks, and I understood that modern people appreciate not only the quality of food, but also the speed of its preparation and delivery. And many of them prefer eating homemade food. So my idea was born. The main idea of my project is to unite people where almost everyone can become a chef, a customer, and a delivery man. And everyone can order food from anywhere at any time. This application is very complex to implement. So I broke it down into its simplest components to make a minimum viable product. The first component is application that allows to join chefs and customers. The second component is the delivery of food from chef to customers. Today, I'd like to present my project where I implemented the application that unites chefs and customers. So welcome to the world of the homemade food. The first thing you need to do to join the website is to sign up. If you are a chef and you can sell your food in this website. So you just need to create your account as a chef and choose the chef option. And if you want to buy food on this website, use customer option. Now I log in as a chef. Now we enter on website as a chef. Every user has their own profile. And a chef, in this case, can create new dish. For example, just now we created a new dish. We input name dish, then we input price, and now we input description that includes different ingredients, and we can choose cuisine, and we point the way of image. Oh, so our dish is created. Also, a chef can edit and delete their own, his or her own dish. For example, we can edit dish. In this case, we just change price, for example, and cuisine will the same. Okay, our dish is changed, and the picture of dish and cut of dish includes cuisine and name of chef, name of dish, and price. Now we can delete dish. So the dish is deleted. I want to pay you attention that a chef can see only own dishes and can change only own dishes. Now we log out and log in as a customer. Customers can see whole dishes from different chefs, for example, from Super Chef and Sarah Chef. If customers want to find a certain dish by name, they can use search dish. For example, salad, or maybe lasagna. Also, a customer can find dishes by choose certain cuisine. For example, American cuisine, Asian, Italian, Mexican, and also come back to all cuisine. So if customers want to add, to buy dish, for example, this, he can and she can define quantity and add to cart this dish and take this dish and this. After that, customers can go to the carted shopping cart. In this place, customers can see all dishes that they chosen. Shopping cart includes picture dish, name of dish, price, quantity, and subtotal price, subtotal sum. Customers can remove dish from shopping cart, can continue shopping. If customers are ready to buy, they can press checkout, and we see the orders of customer. Order of customer includes number order, subtotal sum, tax, and total sum. Customer can remove, for example, this order and proceed shopping, for example. Customers also have their own profiles, and this profile include view orders and shopping cart. I want to pay you attention that customers cannot edit dish and delete dish. besides all the work I have done so far, I'm going to add to this application chef's ratings and number of orders of every dish. The next step that I'm going to do is to unite delivery men, chefs, and customers. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Irene. This was a total pain for me to watch her develop because I had to look at pictures of delicious food all the time. Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation, Irene. So I'm going to open up to questions, starting with Colleen.
Great app, Irene. I definitely feel your pain, Danny. I am starving now, and I love food, so I would definitely be one of your users. I really like the search functionality that you have on this page. Can you tell me how you implemented it? Did you use JavaScript or did you do it with the Rails side? Can you tell me a bit about it?
Yes, I use Vue.js front end. I use different templates. I use actions. I use methods and different stuff to do it.
Awesome.
Luke, question.
Yeah, Irene, good job on this. What was something you learned from working on this project?
Learned project.
What was something that you, like a piece of it that you were working on that you particularly enjoyed working on?
Yes, when I making my code, it was very difficult for me, but I got different knowledge and I improved my skills, and it was very awesome for me. Sometimes I was stuck. Sometimes, yes, sometimes I found different decisions when I surf on internet, and it was very useful things for me. Yes.
Great, good work.
Okay, and last but not least, Jay.
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I am starving now. I should have eaten a better dinner before this. Irene, this is a very impressive project. Very, very cool. I really, in addition to the functionality, which is very complete, it's like a full e-commerce application. I also really like the way that it looks. It's a very, very sharp design. Did you find that, so were you working with a theme of some sort?
Yes, I implement a theme in some template. For example, picture. Pictures have Bootstrap. No, I use Bootstrap and I use a theme to implement my project.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. So really nice job on that, Irene. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your presentation, Irene, and for making me hungry. Okay, so our next presentation is going to be by Drew. So Drew, why don't you go ahead and start your screen share?
Sure. I'm sorry, my project's also on food. So my project is Nutritional Advocate. Essentially, I found that a lot of my friends, college-age males, we have a tendency to know we need to eat healthy, but not really know how to get there. We will default to eating instant ramen and potato chips, which, while delicious, isn't really a well-balanced meal. So this website was developed to basically fix that. The main point of the website is to generate recipes that fit nutritional requirements that you're not getting in your regular diet or you're not getting in your specific diet. So the basic parts of the application, sign up, log in, log out, they're pretty straightforward. The only information for the sign up you need email, password, username, and then your age and weight. So the website can calculate nutritional data you need. I have a pre-built account just so that I don't have to deal with inputting all the information again. Or not. There we go. So this is just the main profile page, gives links and descriptions to the 3 main parts of the website. First, requirements. This is essentially where you add specifications you need for your recipes. You have an egg allergy. Oh, you can put a requirement here so that you won't get any recipes that have egg in them. Same things for other meal types, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, or if you only want a particular type of meal, like let's say you only want main dishes, or you really have a sweet tooth, but you kind of want to feel healthy while having it. You can specify dessert, that sort of thing. Fairly straightforward here. You can just add requirements and then it'll generate recipes based off that. Past meal. This is where you implement meals you've eaten previously and the nutritional data so that you so that the website can calculate what nutritional debt you have and what ingredients and what kind of foods it needs to suggest for you. As you can see here, you have to implement the nutritional values yourself in order to actually submit a past meal. This is one of the areas that, frankly, looking back on and looking for a future, I'd like to improve on, because this would be a real hassle when users try and implement that stuff. 99.9% of people don't know the nutritional values of all of their meals. I'll discuss this later on previous approaches on how I tried to fix that. I already implemented some data, though, for my past meals. This is what I ate yesterday: 2 apples, a bowl of minestrone soup, and some salmon. You can kind of see why I need this recipe from this website for myself. I don't have a very healthy eating style, though this is actually fairly healthy. It's not a lot of food. There's a lot of gaps there. So here in the recipe page, you can see all the recipes that have been previously suggested for you, as well as the option to generate more recipes. As you can see here, there are quite a lot of recipes that I already suggested for myself. And as you can see, a lot of them are protein-based, which makes sense considering I only had a bit of salmon yesterday for protein, and the rest really didn't have any whatsoever. So you can see a couple of them. You can get more details by clicking on any of the pictures. Let's look at the best effing chicken recipe ever, seriously. You can pull up more information here. I did not name these. I'm pulling them from the Yumly API. You get more information based on what Yumly has. This one in particular doesn't have actual much information as well, but it does have the source. So if you wanted to go and actually look for the directions for this recipe, you can just pull up this page, and once again, you have to pull up their source in order to get the actual recipe directions, but fairly straightforward. If you wanted to cook this, I still disagree with it. This is the best effing chicken recipe ever, but I haven't tried it yet. Maybe it's really good. That's essentially the core of my project. The majority of the time spent on working on this was less on building the website and getting everything to communicate, and more building the algorithm for how to generate a recipe. What are you looking for? What nutritional value do you need? I ran into a decent amount of trouble when designing it. For example, when my first run through, I was just calculating the largest nutritional debt and returning the meal that had that nutritional value. Like, let's say you're missing the most vitamin A, it will return to you the meal with the most vitamin A. Problem with that approach is, turns out the meal with the most vitamin A is vitamin A supplements in beverages, which isn't really what you want in a recipe. So that didn't work. I had to knock out beverages, sauces. Some sauces are very high in certain nutrients, and it doesn't really help to receive like a sauce as a full course meal. So working with that, I then, the other issue I ran into was when I was trying to just sort all the nutritional debt you could run into. Well, everyone has a lot of gaps in their nutrients if you just fill in a meal or your past meal. And if you try and hit one meal that solves all of those ingredients, you oftentimes don't get an actual meal. So it would just return no recipe fits that criteria. And that's not really an optimal solution. So what I did was, using a semi-random weighted algorithm, I found the top 3 nutritional debts that the person needs, and then finds a recipe with either 1, 2, or 3 of those nutrients, as well as some other more back-end stuff that I won't dive into the 100-line algorithm to suggest a recipe. For the most part, though, that's my project in a nutshell. I hope that I can use it myself in the future, because I really do need this. I'll open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew. This is really, really awesome. And I want to try that best effing chicken ever and see if I agree. All right, so let's open it up to some questions. We'll start with Colleen.
Great project, Drew. I think this is definitely something that the college guys could get some good use out of. I was wondering about your algorithm that you wrote. Did you do that on the back end with the Rails stuff? And how did you get it to like exclude things? Like, it's really easy to write queries that include things, but how did you do the algorithms that would exclude like dairy if you had a dairy allergy? Can you explain a little bit of that to me?
Sure, I can explain. It was very complex. The API that I used, Yumly, allows that. They have search queries in it that just say, hey, you have an allergy, exclude that. So that's how I did that. It was more of just running through and making sure I had the syntax for the API, the actual JSON query accurate. The main part of the algorithm was less on the requirements section, because all the requirements that I put in were part of the API. And it was more on the nutritional end, on calculating what nutrients you need, what kind of nutritional values does a person need in general, because finding that online was actually fairly difficult. There is not that much consensus on what the human body actually needs, because it varies from person to person, from BMI, from weight to age, et cetera, et cetera. I ended up using Australia's government has a very good calculator for it. So that's what I ended up going with.
Cool. Very cool. Great project.
Okay. Luke, do you have any questions? I feel like Drew has like answered all the questions. So yeah, good luck.
Not quite. Good job, Drew. I'm also very curious about the algorithm. I know you said you originally started with just picking the thing that they needed the most, and that didn't necessarily work. What were some future iterations of it, and what would you have, if you had more time to work on it, what would you change at this point, having gone through it once?
More time to work on it, and what I found mostly was nutrition's really complicated. If I had like a full team and could design my core algorithm, some of the features I'd like to add would be weight for particular lifestyles. Like I've mentioned, I'm a long distance runner. There's some nutritional value, like, oh, you're a long distance runner, you probably need a bit more carbs and just sheer calories than the average person. Let's throw that in. Oh, you're trying to bulk up. Well, let's knock up your protein a couple bits. Like the algorithm right now is for the exact average person, and very few people are the exact average. So I think I would like to add that kind of style, that kind of adjustment and for individual lifestyles. Other things, more right now, all the nutrients are weighted evenly, such as like, okay, you're missing the most by percentage of protein. That's more than, thus we're going to do protein. But I imagine some of the nutrients are more critical if you don't have them. Like you can skip out on carbs, and you can kind of skip out on some fats. But if you're missing out on, let's say you have very little vitamin A or iron, then it doesn't weight those any higher. So I'd like a kind of scaling algorithm for, okay, these are the most important nutrients, weight these higher.
Gotcha. Very cool. Nice work.
All right. How about Jay?
I too want to ask about the algorithms. That is by far, I mean, it's super.
It's 90% of the project.
Yeah, it's super impressive that you actually tried to take that on. That would scare me. Do calories weigh into your algorithm at all?
Yes, I actually, because of the way the website's supposed to be designed, it's not necessarily like day by day. It's just all your previous. You can do week, you can do everything else. So how I took into account calories was you input how many calories are in each past meal. Then once you've inputted all your calories, it just sums up how many calories, and then weights that based on the average 2,200 you're supposed to have, or however much it's calculated that you're supposed to have, and then adjusts all the nutrients by that factor. So if you had so let's say you put in 2 days worth of meals, well, the algorithm's still going to run fine. It's going to sum up all of it. Say you have 4,000 calories in there. Then it's going to say, well, you have about 2 times as many calories as a single day is requirement. So let's just double the requirements by that factor. So that's how I kind of juggled calories in there.
Yeah, you should probably run this by a nutritionist at some point.
Oh, yes. And then they can just tell me like, oh, well, you'll need these formulas for this. And I'm like, I don't have a biology degree. It would be interesting to have an actual nutritionist work with this, though.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely can be something that once you flesh it out is extremely impressive, or it's already impressive, but extremely useful and obviously complex. It's once again, I'm really impressed that you took that on. One final question is, what is medieval fig tarts? That was a recipe that came up.
I have no idea. Let's see.
That just intrigues me.
Medieval fig tarts. Once again, one thing I did find with Yumly is they 1 star.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's see.
910 calories for 1 star is not worth it. Not worth it.
Oh, one thing I actually did with the algorithm, I'll leave you on this one because everyone is interested. Yumly has some of their meals are like for 20 people. So like I've hit occasionally like, well, you need protein? Here, have like 3 whole plates of ribs. I'm like, well, thank you for that. So I can do a bit of tweaking for serving sizes.
Got it. Very
cool.
It
looks like it's figs, saffrons, and all that mixed together with a bunch of spices. And
I'm going to pass on that. But amazing job, Drew. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew. I will not pass on the medieval fig tart, so please send me that recipe. Thank you. It looks delicious.
89% of your daily value of fats.
Great. I need so much more fat in my life.
Yeah,
okay. Thanks, Drew. So our next presenter is going to be Robert. So Robert, why don't you screen share and take it away?
Right. So my app is called Go Commit. It's basically here to just help you keep your commitments. And I'll explain a little more on that here. So the reason I created Go Commit was it kind of came from this article that I'll show you, the 2 foundations of personal productivity. I read it on Medium and just thought it just really resonated with me. I thought it was really cool. It kind of talked about how like fulfilling your commitments is the key to success. And that might not be the case for everyone, but I thought it was pretty apparent to me. In my experience, I worked at a startup where it was really easy to become a hero, or I had to be a yes man for my CEO a lot. And it caused a lot of stress, not only for me, but in the workplace and at home with friends and family. So this is kind of important to me. And you know, when you're overcommitted, you're bound to fall short on some things, and some things might be more important than others. So you don't want to fall short. And I know at that job, it felt like I was spread thin. I could definitely tell some of my, like the leadership there were definitely spread thin too, because they had so many things they wanted to do for so many people. So Go Commit's goal is to help you fulfill your commitments. And it does this by giving you somewhere to track your commitments and who you've committed to. And it also tries to keep you from overcommitting. And so what I call it is kind of like a commitment ledger. And so the overall idea is, as a busy person, I need to follow through on my commitments so I can have stronger relationships, less stress, and a more fulfilling life. So some of the features were creating, updating, and deleting commitments, a profile page, filtering commitments, and sorting commitments. This was like the first iteration of features I made, as well as there's this homepage. There's some cool graphics here that my girlfriend worked on. She made these little images. It was really cool of her. They look awesome. And so we'll start off here. We'll just log in. You can sign up as well. But I've already got an account. So it's pretty simple to get in there. And you land on your commitments page. And here you can see I've got about 5 commitments that I'm currently committed to. One was broken. I was supposed to mow the lawn, and I didn't get to that. So you come in here and it's pretty simple. You know what you're committed to, you can delete them. I can click in here and update them if I wanted to. And I've got the details I need. I talked about filtering. You can make it committed, or maybe I want to look at my broken ones. You can also add more commitments. That's pretty important. So we'll do that. Let's see. I want to do give a good presentation. I think I already have that in there. And, you know, that's definitely for myself. Unfortunately, Nadine's not here, but she's a TA. So definitely want to do a good job for her because she helped me a lot. Same with Jaren and Danny. We'll select today, 6:30 p.m. Kill it for Danny because she wants me to do a good job because she's nice. And we'll create one. And so you'll see this warning here, and that's kind of a part of the next thing I want to touch on was some of the extra features. When I first made this, it was hard to just keep it as an MVP. I wanted to add a bunch of stuff, and Danny really helped me just keep it as simple as possible. And it kind of felt like it was just a glorified to-do app. So I wanted to add some more things that made it like actually for commitments. That's something to do is, you know, I can write this and I can do that, or I can go fix this, but a commitment's like something that I want to hold and take care of. So, you know, I talked earlier about how when you overcommit, you fall short on other ones. So I thought it was important to warn people when that happens. And so I finished my capstone project, so I'll make this complete. And as you can see, the warning goes away, right? So I really liked that feature and thought it was important to just keep the app useful and more. It's just not there, right? It actually provides more service than just tracking. The other thing I added was people, and this was kind of like a big feature. I wanted this in, and it was down to like the last week, and I couldn't decide if I should like fix bugs or what. But I decided to take a leap on it, and so I added the people database, and you'll see a cool little feature here called brownie points. In the article, he talked about how you have a like a bank account, an emotional bank account with your the people you commit to. So when you break a commitment, it's worse than when you actually fulfill one. So that's why for brownie points, it's pretty simple. You lose 20 points if you break one. You gain 10 points if you complete one. So you see I've got one done for Nadine here now and myself because I wanted to finish the capstone project. That was important to me. And so I'll click in here to Nadine, and this is her profile. And it also shows the commitments I have to her, quite a few. And so if I want to go in here, I don't know why she's a cat. That's just how I made the database, I guess, but we'll come in here and give her a new picture. So she's actually a human. And you can also click here and it'll open your mail app to email her. I thought that would be pretty cool, just in case you wanted to let her know you were doing something for her. And I don't want to delete her because she's awesome, but I could if I wanted to. The other thing here is just the profile. It's a pretty simple page right now, but you have a bio, and I kind of threw that in there in case there is ever some more user interaction. And then, just the general details, you can upload a picture. It was pretty simple on the front end as far as, what's here. It's not a super complex app. So I decided to put a lot more time into styling. So jump in here. So some of the technologies I used were Bootstrap, Vue, Rails, and Postgres. Bootstrap was for the CSS styling, Vue for, getting all these commitments in here without writing, 10 different commitments. Ruby on Rails, obviously, for the backend and APIs, and then Postgres for the database. Some of the tools I thought were really important, and something I did differently was, I used GitHub projects a lot. This helped me kind of manage everything. You can see like what I was doing, complete and to do. I also used Trello, but GitHub was more for like the inner little fixes, bugs here and stuff like that. And Trello was more high level for me. And then I also used Gitkraken because it was really hard to remember where I left off. And I didn't really like just typing git status. So this kind of gave me like a view of the changes I had made and where I had left off. And last but not least, some of the roadblocks I ran into were figuring out what to prioritize in the last week. I was scared to get people in there because I knew it was a big thing to try and implement in time. And what if I ran into bugs? But I'm glad I did it. I also got stuck on the little things, like little bugs. I'm a perfectionist, so I didn't want. I wanted it to be seamless and easy to use, and I didn't want ugly little bugs popping up or anything like that. But sometimes it would take a whole day of development just to fix that, and maybe I could have gotten a whole nother feature in. And then the other thing was plans for the future. So I really want to implement something like a technology called SendGrid, where you can do emails, automated emails. So if I committed to Nadine, it would actually email her and tell her that, and that would help me be accountable to my commitments. Another thing was UI and UX. I would have liked to, instead of these ugly modals, I would have liked to have it like inline, but that was a pretty big JavaScript, development feature that would have taken a while, so I couldn't get to it. And just more options. Right now, I have it just set to 5. If you have 5 current commitments, it warns you. I would have like an option for different people because maybe I am someone who can handle like 10. But for demo purposes today, I just made it 5. And that's pretty much it for me. Is there any questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. You can definitely mark that commitment as complete because you killed it. Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to open up to Colleen.
Awesome project. I really like it. You definitely, your perfectionism comes across. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
My question is more experience. Oh, also, I really like that you showed us like the technologies you use to help you manage your project. That was really cool. I like using GitHub to manage my projects as well. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with like the JavaScript and the Rails stuff, and which one, like, did you find that you preferred one or the other, or one was a little easier for you? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as far as Rails, we use that, or I use that mainly for the API and just getting database calls to the database and setting up some of the models. I didn't have a lot of models. It's basically people, commitments, and your users, and then one join table between commitments and people. So it wasn't too crazy on the Rails side, but the JavaScript side was definitely a task on its own. And I kind of went into it knowing that it was going to be a little more front end because of that. So I did really like that. One of the things I was happy about was implementing people, because I did have to do some more back end work, and I really wanted to get that more involved. So that's why I added that feature.
And did you use like a Bootstrap theme, or did you do all the styling for yourself? I know you said your girlfriend made the images. They're awesome.
Yeah, she designed these pictures in the logo for me. It's really cool. She whipped them up in like an hour. So, but I used a theme, but it didn't add like buttons, and I added these badges and stuff. So a lot of the visual elements I did, but it gave the like kind of the framework there, but it was a Bootstrap theme.
Awesome. Looks amazing. Great job.
Thanks.
Luke, questions?
Yeah, nice work. I really like this project. I like the idea of focusing on your commitments and how breaking them costs more than making them. That makes sense. What was your biggest challenge from doing this project?
Biggest challenge, I think, was just that last week. I was pretty stressed because I wanted to do a good job on this project, and there was so much, but I also like being, on the line, and that pressure, I feel like I kind of thrive in that. So that was fun. So the challenge was just incorporate. I had my MVP done. I had my core features done with 1 week left, which for most developers and projects that probably doesn't happen. But I really fine-tuned my scope. So just jumping out of the comfort zone to incorporate more features and make it a more well-rounded app would be the biggest challenge.
All right, nice work.
Thank you.
Okay, and Jay.
Yeah, Robert, I also really love this project. The idea and the design are both phenomenal. What do you say you learn the most from working on this project, as opposed to, when you go to class, you learn a lot of stuff, but what would you say that, working on this project gave you learning wise over just taking the class?
It's almost the same answer as what was for Luke. It was kind of like the project management and product management part. You could give me a guide and I could code your app, right? But for me, it was like coming up with the ideas and like actually executing them was really interesting, because I've worked on teams with I'm on a software support team right now. I actually work really close with our developers. And even though I'm right there with them, like actually finishing these features or fixing these bugs, I never it's just toss it over the fence, or a user comes in and says, hey, I want this. Like, okay, just toss it over the fence. We're here, like I actually got to experience what it was like to try and implement things and to execute on that.
Awesome. Well, you executed excellently. So nice job, Robert.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. This turned out really well. Thanks for your presentation. Okay, so let's keep moving. And Mitesh, you are next to present. So why don't you start screen sharing, Mitesh?
Okay. name is Mitesh. So my app is basically a sports-based app. It came from my idea. I just love sports and like watching it and playing it, getting exercise. So yeah, at first I was thinking, which sport should we do? Should I like create? And I came to the idea like maybe NFL games, maybe baseball games, but then basketball is my favorite out of all the sports. So I was like, let's do an NBA based app. And the idea kind of came from like, I've kind of had it for like a while. So like growing up, I would try to like look for a game to watch, like maybe after school. And then I'd Google it and I'd go to like NBA.com and it'd say, the game, maybe the start time and maybe the score. But then I was like, what channel is it on? So I'd have to open up another tab and like figure out what channel it's on. And then as I grew older, I was like, hey, who's favored to win? Like who probably will win the game? So then that would be like another tab I'd have to open for like Vegas odds, right? Because they have all the predictions and everything. So that kind of was the base of my idea here. And I kind of wanted to bring everything together in like one place that people can like easily find information that they want and need in like a very simple place instead of having to open up like 3 tabs and go to 3 different websites. So, okay, so here is my Game Finder app here. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I created a pretty simple sign up page where a user will have their input, their name, their email, their password, and then just a password confirmation. And also I wanted to have the user input their favorite team. So I have a 2 to 3 letter abbreviation that the user would input. And then here are all the teams here that people can look at and then see what their 3-letter abbreviations are. So yeah, just a simple sign up page that gets the vital information, of course, kind of like the theme of what I was going for. So let's go ahead and get logged in here. Let's try my account. So let's go log into my account. Right. All right, cool. So now let's go ahead and go into our games. So basically what this is pulling from an API. It was kind of tough at first finding an API that gave me live data and gave me all the data that I wanted. So I finally found this API and it was free and it's, they're great. It was easy to implement in my backend, on my Ruby backend. So yeah, so basically I got the main things. So like, say an actualized cohort in Chicago, they get out of class and they're wondering, hey, what's up with the Bulls today? So, hey, they can just go into my app here and say, oh, okay, they're playing Miami. What channel is it on? Okay, it's on WGN. Oh, the game already ended. Okay, no worries. We can catch another game. And then you can go to like the next game here and then see, okay, like this team is playing and then at this channel. And also I want to implement like a point spread. So basically the team that's favored and how much they're favored by. Kind of getting all the information I wanted in one place with a simple look and also with live updates. That's kind of the thing that I was going for. And I'm glad to find an API that gave me that data. So yeah, also let's go into our user page here. So my profile page. So keeping it simple with the email here, my email address, and also my favorite team. So let's go ahead and see my user team page. So this is going to show me data for my favorite team. So it's going to load up the score here. Just waiting for it to load. And then, okay, so my favorite team is Golden State. I mean, a lot of us are based in the Bay Area here. So okay, so they're playing Milwaukee today and it's on TNT. So it must be nationally televised. I can just go, turn my TV on and then go watch the game. Or I can just look at the score here. Okay, so 15-18, it's in the first quarter. So it's still pretty early. We've got time to catch up later. So yeah, that's basically like the main things that my app can do. Some things that I do want to implement in the future would be having multiple favorite teams. So instead of having only one favorite team, a user would be able to have multiple favorite teams. Say, they follow like 2 or 3 teams, they could input that. And also another thing that I wanted to implement was being able to change my favorite team. So say I want to like follow another team, I can be able to change this right here and then be able to pull up my user team page for a different team. So yeah, and also Something else I would like to do is maybe, you know, have a page where it shows links like tickets for the game. Say it's like still a scheduled game in the future. Maybe have like a ticket link to buy tickets to that game. Also, some things that I had that I found a little difficult at first was just, again, finding the correct API that I can use that gave me the data that I wanted, the live data that I wanted. And also kind of just sifting through like all that data and showing it in a way that I would like it to show. And also like having my users and their favorite teams and having the users' favorite team information show. That was a little tricky and it took some time, but you know, with the help of wonderful TAs and teachers at Actualize, they taught me so much about how to you know, connect my backend Ruby with the front end Vue.js. And yeah, that's basically my app here. And yeah, so I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Cool. Thanks, Mitesh. Also, yes, Bay Area. Woohoo, Warriors. Okay, so let's open it up for questions, starting with Colleen.
Hi, Mitesh. Really cool project. Big sports fan too. Although Chicago, obviously. Can you tell me about the technology you use for like user authentication and logging in and signing up and getting in the app and signing out?
Yeah, so I had everything implemented in Ruby backend. I had the user token set up through my backend, and then it was a little tricky at first, you know, getting it to show, getting everything connected up with the front end, but everything is really in Ruby. And yeah, so I've set it up through the backend there.
Did you write all the authentication yourself, or did you like use a gem to do that?
We had some basically some tutorials that I used that I kind of implemented into my app. And then I just kind of got it to work eventually. So yeah.
Awesome. That's really challenging stuff. I'm impressed that you did your own auth. Super cool.
Okay, Luke.
Yeah, my question for you is, you said that one of the pieces was you wanted live updates. How did you do that? How did you get live updates?
Yeah, so it took a couple, I've had to look through a couple different like APIs, and like some of them weren't working for me. So it took me like a little while just to get the one that I wanted. And then I finally found just this site that provided free live data for like students. So I just emailed them and said, you know, I'm a student here at Actualize, and then they just granted me access to a free live API with the data that I wanted. And basically they just, after that, it was just simple as just putting it into my backend and then just starting to work with that.
And when you got new updates from the API, how did you display them on your site?
Mm-hmm. So basically I had to use Axios in my front end. So I set it up in the backend with Ruby, and I had used my Vue.js front end and started pulling information in my index.js file. So I used Axios and then pulled that data to my front end and then showed that in my index.html. I had to create, it was kind of tricky creating the methods for the index.js to be able to sort through all the data that I wanted and then show that onto my HTML.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's how I did it.
If there was an update to the backend, did you use like sockets or something to get that, or do you have to refresh the page? Like, how do you get an update when the backend gets an update? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So with updates regarding like daily updates with the API, I'd actually had to go and like change the backend date. All I had to do is just change the date, like just a digit. So I just change it like if it's a new day, and then it'll just give me all the new day's information. So that's the way it's implemented right now, where I just change the date in the API, and then it just gives me the new dates information, and it can give me like future games and past games as well. So it's pretty cool like that. And also something I want to work on, I forgot to mention this, was like creating a page where like it shows tomorrow's game or like yesterday's game. So I think that would be pretty cool to add to in the future.
All right, cool. Nice job.
Jay.
Hey, Mitesh, this is a really awesome project. What is the name of the API you ended up using?
It's Fantasy Data.
Okay.
FantasyData.net. I think that's what the name was. I accidentally exited out right before I presented.
No, that's cool, because I remember in the past that previous students who wanted to get basketball data had a difficult time finding that data, just like you mentioned, like NBA and all that stuff, ESPN, all charge a hefty price for those APIs. So it's awesome that you found one so that single API gave you all the data that you want?
Yeah, it gave me it even has more information like attendance and like a whole bunch of other stuff that I didn't really want to feel like I needed to add. But I could easily just edit my index.js and my HTML to show that information.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also I was actually having a 403 error yesterday during break when I was kind of panicking at the time. But they quickly responded to my email and then gave me they granted me a renewal data. Yeah, so they were great.
Awesome. Okay, nice job, Mitesh. Very, very cool project.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitesh. And yes, there have been many panic moments. That is one of many. Awesome. So let's keep going. And I think we have our last presenter, Stephen. So take it away, Stephen.
Hello, everyone. I'm now unmuted, so now I can repeat what I just said. I'm going to preface this by beating Danny to the punch and say great work to everyone. All of your projects were amazing, so thank you for keeping me engaged while I sat to be the last presenter, so I'm really excited for that. And also a special thanks, of course, to Jared, Nadine, and of course the Queen, Danny. You guys were amazing. So moving forward. My project is called Talent Stack, which is a blog formatted social network that creates a safe and secure place for idea holders to showcase their ideas and get feedback, advice, inspiration, or even find their teammate to essentially stack their ideas with the talent that they need in order to succeed. So yeah, I thought about the title a little bit, not too much, but just enough to have some significance behind it. So I'm passionate about this because, believe it or not, a lot of people have a lot of ideas. Like today, we have a lot of students who had a lot of great ideas. And believe it or not, ever since I shared with my friends that I'm a web developer, I'm actually getting into coding, this and that, you'd be astonished to hear that so many people have ideas that pitch me. So that's great. However, therefore, I noticed that there's not really a safe and secure platform for them to share their ideas to a larger community that's not just me. So let's say that Andrew wants to get some advice on how to potentially monetize Spillit, right? Because you want to make some money off that site. Or Drew, you're looking for some teammates or a nutritionist to acquire more data for your nutritional advocate. Or maybe Robert, you're looking to test drive the concept of Go Commit and get some audience feedback on the idea, and maybe find some feedback as the best way to initially release your first site, or for Go Commit, its first version. And I know Facebook's a great place to seek advice from friends, but if you want qualified feedback from a network outside of your own while simultaneously protecting your idea, this is where you can do it. So let's dive in with a real world example. I have a great friend. His name is Miles. He lives here locally in San Jose, and he actually just started a business of his own, but he has a problem. So here's my site right here. As you all can see, I'm going to sign up because I'm Miles. And I'm really excited to share my idea with the world. So you can see here that the sign up page is very, very basic. And same with his email address and his password. Great. So now I'm going to log in as Miles. Okay, good. I got the password connect. So see how it just jumps right to the main page. I was really inspired by Medium based on the simplicity and keeping the user engaged on browsing ideas so that it can open up a more creative community. So let's say I want to create that post. So let's do it. The name of his business is Motive Eats. and he services meal prep boxes for the San Jose area. Right now, I pull in 150 orders, mostly SJSU students, and they have to call or text me their orders. So my problem is that having users have to text me to place an order is a lot of work for me. I'm Miles. And also having to get calls from unsolicited numbers is a pain in the butt. So I'm seeking a better way for my users, let's call them customers, to place their orders. And obviously this is food and craft, submit, beautiful. Let's go to that tab. You see it right here next to Jake's dog treats. So I'm gonna log out, and let's say I'm a web developer. Let's call me Steven, and I'm going to not sign up but log in because I, Steven, actually have the first account. And again, brings it right back home. I'm browsing the site. I go to food. I see Motive Eats. I want to read more. Now, this is the big thing for the site. There's an NDA. I'm not fully committed as this is the best way to secure ideas, but this will hopefully secure Miles's idea so I don't run off with his idea. So let's agree to that. I see his idea, this and that. There could be some more information for the overview, but otherwise I see it's a started business and I have a perfect idea for him, for his customers to place their orders. So how about a web application with carded products and a payment service? Let's talk more. And I'm going to submit that. You get the comment. Great. It's my comment, so I can delete it if I want, but I want Miles to see this. And then he'll get a notification in his profile to let him know, like, great, this is someone I actually want to talk to, and this and that. So some feedback. Here's my beautiful profile. I know it's amazing. So going back, and that's pretty much it. That is the main focus of the site. It is not super complicated, I understand, but that's my objective. Aside from that, let's see here. So we tested a real world example. And then let's go over some of the functionalities. Let's say the things I was particularly proud of was the tag searching. That was I'm able just to like browse the site. You can instantly add, create, delete tags for some idea. So that's great. What I want to implement in a future version is an algorithm that's sourced based on time, people you're following, or trends, this and that, which I did not have the time to do for this version. Also, I was also particularly proud of my login logout feature. You can see that if I'm logged in, it goes right to the NDA, and you also get these buttons at the top. If I log out, changes the buttons at the top. I have to sign in first to authenticate me as a user that I, Steven, am viewing Miles's post at this date and time, security. And then I'm also a little proud of my modals. For some reason, they were a pain in the butt for me with the theme I installed, but I figured it out. And then, yeah, some things I'd like to implement in the future versions of this. Well, I guess the question is like, is this ready for public release? No, not at all. I have a lot more I want to implement on this. I'm really excited to continue working on this project after this amazing course that got me started. And of course, the biggest thing, that the easiest thing to implement is, yes, I know you're all thinking of it, pictures. I need pictures for my posts. I get it. So that'll be the first thing I implement, and also a messaging system so I can personally reach out to Miles and say, hey, I'm a developer who can actually help you with this project. I see a lot of promise. Let's grab some coffee. And that's pretty much my conclusion. I'm really excited about this idea, and I'm also excited for the rest of the class to see where you guys go in your future. And I will open the panel to questions.
Thank you, Steven.
Thank you.
I'm trying so hard to like not crack up.
That's not my objective.
Your energy is so good. Awesome. Okay, thank you for this amazing presentation. So I'm going to open questions up to Colleen.
Great project. I can definitely relate. When I joined Jay's boot camp, I also had a lot of people coming at me with app ideas. Everybody's got an idea. Can you tell me what your biggest challenge in making this was?
The biggest challenge was honestly working with the theme that I chose because it was very, very, very complex. And also, like, as you can see here, there's some bugs with the layout. For some reason, it likes to do 3, 1, 3, 1. So that was a bug I was not able to figure out. I shouldn't be highlighting it, but I want to be honest with you guys. So that was the biggest challenge I had, just like working with this the theme, because the back end stuff wasn't overly complicated, although Danny did help me a lot with some of the back end stuff. The user in, user out was actually probably the most challenging thing, to be honest. This was the second challenging thing. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. Looks great. Can't wait to see the pictures.
Ditto.
Good job.
All right, Luke, questions?
Yeah, what was your favorite part of working on this project?
My favorite part, I guess, would be creating everything was great and awful at the same time, if that makes sense. Where I had a lot of like passion and interest for this, but the more I worked on it, the more it drained me from like some of my passion. But what I really, really enjoyed was mostly making like the posts and the templates for that. Something I want to actually touch upon now, since you're asking, is for the posts, I want to create a more detailed template for them, because for me as like the guy from Townside, I want to help guide our young entrepreneurs in the right direction when they're posting their ideas. I want to ask them the questions. It's like, do you have patents pending? Is your business viable? Are you looking to make money, or is it nonprofit? And like help guide them through those questions first before they even like actually submit their posts, and then they can get additional feedback from the community. But this right here, I feel like we can help our young entrepreneurs a little bit further, again, through this. But this is like my favorite part for now. And also creating the tags. The tags was a lot of fun. Also headache, but also was the premise of the site, and I really enjoyed this part the most.
All right, well, good work.
Sorry for rambling.
Okay, Jay.
Yeah, Steven, this is a really great app, and your presentation was fabulous. It sounds like you're really running with this idea for real, or are you actually going to make this real?
Yes, I want to. I really, really, really do. So
I'm curious. I know I'm going off like the technical deep end over here, but have you run this by lawyers? Like, does clicking on that modal actually sign me up for the NDA, and does it actually hold legal weight?
Exactly. And like, that's the biggest thing I need to work on first, is actually getting some more feedback. Unfortunately, I don't really have any lawyers in my direct network yet, and neither do I have any friends directly who are lawyers, which is why this would be great to have right now, so I could ask said question. But
so I might be able to steal your idea right now.
Essentially.
Well, I didn't even sign the NDA, so.
You did not. But I trust everyone here and everyone viewing that they will not. Please don't hose me.
Okay, awesome job, Steven. Congratulations. This is a wonderful project.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Steven. This is really awesome. Presentation is everything. All right, so I'm about to overwrite you here. So just a few closing notes that I am going to make before we wrap up our presentations for today. So that is everybody. That totally concludes our presentations. So again, I just want to thank everybody for presenting today. I know that this can be sort of a stressful activity when you have to present, even if you can't actually see your audience. And you all did a totally fantastic job. You killed it, and you all came really well prepared. And I'm super, super proud of each and every one of you. I've worked closely individually with every person in this class, and this cohort has been particularly amazing. The ideas here were so fantastic, and the implementations were also really amazing. So thank you guys so much for presenting, and a humongous congratulations. You guys are web developers now. So congrats to the grads. Yay, yes, woohoo. You guys are real developers. I mean, you've actually been real developers for quite some time now, but this is your official graduation. You've presented your projects, you have made them, they are out in the world, or maybe not yet, but they're out on localhost, out to be, soon to be in the world. So great job to everybody, and thank you for everybody for viewing at home. And I think that's about going to wrap it up. Are there any other closing notes? Jade, do you want to make any closing notes?
Just to echo what you said, Danny, congrats to all of you. I was super impressed. I've seen hundreds of capstone projects, and these were definitely among the most impressive. So really, really nice job to all of you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And we're going to conclude our live link right now.